Good evening and welcome to Letters from the Light Side. My name is Annie Conboy and I'm an intuitive medium and psychic, and I'm here this evening to bring you the guidance, the inspiration of all of those non-physical spirit guides and beings who help with the energy of the earth, who help us to deal with whatever's happening for us. You might notice there's a cat floating around. There's actually two of them somewhere, but I don't know where the other one's gone. It's a cat evening, not a dog evening. Sometimes I have my lovely dog with me. I've been thinking about this broadcast today because today I've been sending out healing energy from Archangel Parashil, sending out Parashil's balm out to not just the Ukraine, but to all of the people in Ukraine and Russia and Europe who are affected by the current energy situation that we've got. And we've got quite a lot of turmoil. Quite a lot of turmoil because it's been building up for a long time. We've allowed fear and division to take charge, and that has led to people not acting in the greater good in all circumstances. So it's quite hard to be here in a sort of light and positive vein, knowing that we're going to need so much healing into the world. However, the guides were really keen. Rafe kept saying, you need to do this broadcast. We're going to take you from your healing duties into your broadcast duties, because it's important. It's important to share the energy of what's happening, share the kind of positive and the light, and to ask everyone to send some positive thought. What we don't realise is our own power to visualise and to bring about really deep change if we set our mind to it. So one of the other ways that I've been trying to send out positive strength and healing is to all of the kind of lead actors, if you like, trying to help to put the people who have the power at the moment, to put them in positive light, to lift them as much as possible, because they must feel very gloom laden, very driven by the wrong kind of energies in order to come to this particular point of feeling like it's acceptable. But we've done it for a long time. We've felt it's acceptable to take over countries, to tell other countries what to do. We feel it's acceptable to have boundaries between us when we're all human beings on the planet. I know that I've got Archangel Ethelial speaking to me tonight, or speaking to you perhaps. We are all human beings. Every one of us wants, the same things from our lives, to live a happy and good life, to feel like we are making a way for ourselves and our family and for the people we love and care about, and that we want to have a peaceful, positive outcome in our lives. So one of the things that Telia's reminding us is that you can always, always, always send the energy to the people in power to ask that they be lightened and enlightened, and that they can step back and say, this is not the right direction to take humanity in. This will only perpetuate a cycle that we've had for thousands of years. This is not new. This aggressive act is something that's happened and we've rumbled along with and never really got to the bottom of, in terms of the what in my youth were called the superpowers. We haven't recognised that with power comes responsibility. With power, we have to apply the compassion and love to our decision making, so that we understand that it's not okay to affect the masses of other people who don't happen to agree with the power we want to have, the power we want to maybe take. I can't help but feel I'm listening to myself again. A podcast I did last year, that I know Eteliel was in with me, and it was all about one-upmanship, top dog, competitiveness. Somehow we value competitiveness better than we value consensus. We want solutions, but we keep fighting about what's the best solution, instead of just trying one, really trying one, and say, let's try it, let's see how far it can run, and then trying something else and aiming for that peaceful existence that I know all human beings want. You don't want to birth a child into a world that's riven with strife, and yet we forget about the children. We forget about that someone's got to pick up all the crappy bits we leave behind, because for sure, whenever it happens, we will leave this planet. We will all die. All these leaders, all these old white men who think they've got the right to direct stuff, all these men who think they've got the power, we will all leave the planet. It can't be clearer than that. We will all take our turn at taking off this body and going. And it's not about us. It's not about having all the palaces or the big buildings or the status you cannot take any of that with you. What you take is the karma you create. So part of the energy I've been sending all day is to try to help the people who can push the buttons, who can call it off, to help them to see that karmically they're not doing very well for themselves if they continue in aggression and competition, in what's mine's mine, what's yours is mine. So I'm really doing a call out this evening on Eteliel's behalf to ask everyone to understand that we are being put through crisis after crisis until we actually recognise there are creative consensus solutions to all of the world's problems, and that the vast majority of people do not want to fight. It's not about a bit of land. It's not about what's mine is mine. It's not about ownership, or let's face it, Putin's going to disappear off the planet at some point anyway. So what's it for? What's this claim to ancient Russian soil? What a load of rubbish. Sorry, if we went back thousands of years, there's no such thing as Russia. We make these things up in our mind. And it's important for us as spiritual beings, as spiritual people, right now to recognise that it's not enough to let it go without speaking up, or without putting our effort into ending it. Now, that covers such a vast range of things we can do. Like I say, I've been beaming healing. You can beam healing. I've been thinking, am I going to say anything about Ukraine and Russia and all the mess that's happening in this broadcast? And yeah, I am, because Eteliel wants to put it right square in front of us and say, we have the opportunity to hold the space. That's the biggest thing we can do. Hold the space. keep bringing in the light, keep bringing in the love, being compassionate, not taking sides, not arguing, not dividing ourselves more, but recognizing that what is emerging is the worst of human nature, the absolute worst of human nature. And we need to highlight and remember and witness and be able to say, not in my name. This is not the way that things should be. And to pass that on to the generations, to pass that on to all the people who really just want to have a life. You know, Russian people, Ukrainian people, Polish people, people across the world, China, America, all these superpowers seem to have ripped themselves into shreds. They are not representative any longer of what the vast majority of human beings want. We've managed to go so many years without a huge kerfuffle around the whole world, and here we are starting again, an old cycle that's no longer appropriate. It's not what right-minded people think about. It's not what people want, because we know the cost. We didn't always know the cost because we didn't have social media. We didn't have the communication facilities we have now. But even that, Eteliel says, is being used to warp our minds, to get us into being divided, to get us into being competitive. You only have to look at some of the protests that are going on that are really not about let's make a better world, but about I want me. That's what it's about. Stopping this me that runs riot through the human race, and understanding we have to be together, united. We have to find a method of understanding each other and caring about each other and being compassionate. Even troops, God love them, they're doing something because they're told it's the right thing to do. When do we change? When do we say, no, it's not the right thing to do? It's not the right thing to have war and strife. And when do we start saying to people, let's resolve any differences differently? Let's respect that everybody has a space to live in and should have a space to live in. I need to say, Eteliel's been sending me very wild dreams all week, so you might have been getting lots of dream stuff happening, because this is following on from a massive clearing of the collective unconscious, or the Earth's aura, if you like, the fourth dimension. We've been busy working hard to clear the fear, to remove the hatred and the bitterness and the anger and all those low vibrational emotions, which are Eteliel always tells me that they're right to feel because they're human. It's how we deal with those emotions, not bottling them up, not pointing them outwards and saying, oh, it's their fault I feel like this. Sorry, I'm laughing because he said, because it is so clear. No one makes you feel anything. You choose to feel it. And that's a really hard, grown-up lesson to understand. And all these posturings that are going on about offence being given or taken, and it's rubbish. We can walk on by. We can say, oh yeah, all right, you feel like that. I'm just going to get on with, let's find a common ground. Let's meet in the middle. We don't have to invest ourselves in all those low vibrational emotions and stay in them. That's the point. We don't have to. And whatever inferiority complex Putin's got, whatever mission he feels he's on, it's inside him. He's not balanced emotionally. He's not intelligently understanding what drives him. Because for sure, there'll come a point in his life when off he pops. He'll no longer be here. I could say the same about lots of world leaders who often seem to be men who've got these crunched up, low vibrational feelings of inferiority and whatever. You know what? They need therapy. They really need therapy, and they're in charge. It's important for us not to need that therapy. It's important for us not to hold on to the low vibration, not to get dragged into the fear, to see what's happening and understand it from an energetic, cosmic level. We're getting another lesson. We're being told, look, if you can't get to the bottom of all this rubbish emotion you keep storing up in yourself, you'll just repeat the cycle time and time again. Do what you've always done, get what you always got. Etilia so powerfully wants to encourage you in this particular time, which I actually don't feel unhopeful about. I'm certainly not feeling fearful, because I know that we have to go through the lessons for growth. We have to pass on to our children, most importantly, pass on to our children that these kind of things are not the way to be human. And we have to show them different ways to act as human beings. What's important right now is don't get hooked in all the hoopla. Don't get hooked in all the turmoil. We have a lovely new moon coming up. A new moon that's going to be powerfully able to send our intentions out. So focus right now on peace. Focus on being in peace inside. Focus on holding the space. The more of us can ignore the rubbish that's put out through social media, the more of us that can hold the understanding that as human beings we're all the same, the more of us who can send love and healing and strength, who can say, this is not what I want, the more of us who can hold that vision of a beautifully peaceful world, a world that understands none of it's ours. It doesn't belong to us. Nothing belongs to us. We have to give it back. We have to go away. We go back to the afterlife and go, what was all of that about? Because, as my mum used to lovingly say to me, there are no pockets in shrouds. And spare a thought for those brave spirits in human bodies who have volunteered to encounter this terrible turmoil, who've said, I will put my life on the line for the growth of humanity, because that's what they've done. And it doesn't make it any easier. Definitely not if you're intuitive, because if you're intuitive, you're plugged into other people's pain, or can be plugged into other people's pain. You can feel it as if it's your own feelings, your own pain. So they have got the greatest task of all. We need to back them up. We need to send the loving healing. We need to send the best of us that we can, the compassion. We need to keep our focus, as Etilia says, on holding the space, allowing that it may generate upset or fearful feelings in us, but feeling it and then moving on, not getting caught in it. Because if we get caught in the anger and the fear and the distress and the lower feelings, we'll get stuck. We won't be able to open our hearts and let our light shine into this. Our children deserve better. that what we have to do in the aftermath of this is really, really resign ourselves to. We cannot let these things keep happening again and again and again. That is actually why NATO was formed. It was the idea of unifying. And I have to say, the European Union was an offshoot of that, helping people to unify. If we could share some things in common, perhaps we wouldn't fall out with one another quite as much. And these are ideals we have to keep working towards. These are the things we have to keep putting forward, that we can shine the love and we can hold the light and we can wish and request and ask and beg, or whatever we need to do to get a peaceful solution. There will be one. There will be. It's at what point do these leaders see sense? It's at what point do they say the cost is too high? And yes, it'll put a burden, in a sense, on all of us, because war affects the world. We can't think of being individual countries anymore. We're a world with human beings, and maybe we've been tempted to turn a blind eye on other wars in other places at other times since the 1940s. But we need to see that the way forward for humanity is to end war. Now, I was brought up as a child of the 60s, very passionate about CND and very passionate about peace. It hasn't happened in my lifetime, which is disappointing for me. My lifetime so far, Eteliel says. But there has to be a way through this. If we stay true to holding the loving energy, if we stay true to saying war is not an appropriate route, if we stay true to teaching our children that division is a dead end. It's a dead end. It's the way that we'll be wiped off the planet. What will survive, what will save us, is our togetherness, our shared humanity. And, says Eteliel, remembering, we aren't here all that long. What, 70 or 80 years to any one of us? It seems like a lifetime, but in terms of this planet, it's a blink. In terms of humanity, it's a blink. So let's start focusing on making everybody's lifetime a peaceful, contented, worthy, valuable, beautiful lifetime. Let's remove these low vibrational feelings. Let's stop the build-up. Let's step back from the edge of committing to eternal war. That's where we're at. Very, very balance point. Somewhere in the next few years, we're going to have to make that commitment if we want to evolve as a planet, as a species, if we want to do the best we possibly can for all of those children and the children's 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 children. There's a tradition to think about the children 7 generations forward. We need to start applying that as from now, because these people in some places who have the power are not thinking about the children. They're not thinking about care and compassion. They're thinking about power and their own insecurity. It's been a very different broadcast this evening. I hope that you can take some of Eteliel's words and understand that he beams his love in, as do all of the 12 Earth's archangels. send out your love, send out your healing. You don't have to be a trained healer. You don't have to have anything special. We've all got within us the ability to heal ourselves and others. Radiate that positive thought. Radiate the intention that there is a peaceful solution, that there is a quick end, and that we right the world again, having learned a lesson by nearly being on the brink rather than going over the cliff. New moon next week, beautiful energy. Just manifest. Send your thoughts. Just anything, anything that's going to help us make this a world for all those children who are yet to come. Take care, everyone. I'll be back next Thursday. Bye.